Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into the world's most impactful ideas and bring you the essential nuggets of knowledge. Today we're exploring a framework that has, well, quite literally transformed millions of lives and careers. We're talking about a book that sold over 40 million copies since 1989, still an absolute cornerstone in leadership and personal development. Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Our mission in this deep dive is really to offer you a shortcut to understanding its timeless wisdom, pulling out the most important insights, maybe some surprising facts too. Okay, let's unpack this. What makes Covey's approach so enduring? It feels like more than just a list of things to do, right?
That's the perfect question to start with, because Covey isn't just offering, quick tips or superficial techniques. His whole approach is what he calls principle-centered. He guides us to focus on timeless values, universal truths that apply to anyone, anywhere, rather than just chasing trends or quick fixes. The core idea is simple, really, but profound. True effectiveness doesn't come from, say, personality traits or just external polish. It comes from aligning your character, who you fundamentally are, with these basic, unchanging principles. And it's not just theory, it's really about actionable principles, things designed to profoundly impact both your personal and professional life.
So it's less about adopting new behaviors, maybe, and more about an internal shift. I find that really compelling. Covey really kicks things off by emphasizing what he calls a paradigm shift. What he means by this. It's not just a mental exercise, is it? It sounds more like a fundamental rewiring of how you see reality, like suddenly seeing that hidden image in a picture you've stared at for ages. It challenges the very assumptions you make about success, moving beyond just external fixes to an internal transformation. He argues that true success, the kind that lasts, stems from who you are at your core, your character, and sticking to these universal principles, not just looking good or using clever tactics. It's an inside-out approach, yeah.
Absolutely. Inside out. And, to really get the structure and how these habits progress, it's super important to understand what Covey calls the maturity continuum.
Yeah.
He lays out 3 stages we typically move through in our development, and the habits are sort of strategically designed to guide us along this path. First, there's dependence. That's basically the mindset of others take care of me, like a child or maybe an employee who relies totally on their manager.
Okay.
Then we move to independence. Here, the mindset shifts to, I take care of myself. This is about self-reliance, self-mastery, getting your own act together.
Yeah.
But the ultimate goal, where the real collaboration and synergy happen, is interdependence. That's where we understand we cooperate for mutual success. So the first 3 habits, as we'll get into, focus on achieving that private victory of independence. That sets the stage for the public victory of interdependence, in relationships.
That's a perfect roadmap. Okay, so let's dive into those first 3 habits and the ones that build your private victory and move you from dependence toward independence.
Right.
This is all about self-mastery, right? Laying that solid foundation within yourself. The first of these, habit 1, is be proactive. Now, this isn't just about taking initiative, though that's part of it, I guess. It's fundamentally about taking responsibility for your choices and focusing your energy on what you can actually control. Covey uses this great visual, the circle of influence versus the circle of concern. What's the real power behind focusing on that circle of influence?
Right. Covey really drives home that proactivity isn't just doing more stuff. It's about claiming your basic freedom to choose your response instead of just reacting to whatever happens. It's a massive shift, really, from feeling like a victim to feeling empowered. Instead of letting, traffic or someone's bad mood dictate your mood or actions, you consciously choose how to respond. He has a fantastic quote on this one I think about a lot. I am not a product of my circumstances. I'm a product of my decisions. For you, listening, this means realizing that no matter what life throws at you, you always have the power to decide your attitude, your next step. It's acknowledging that, okay, you can't control everything that happens to you, but you absolutely control how you react. And that's where your power is.
Well, that quote alone is... yeah, that's worth the price of admission, isn't it? It really reframes everything. So once you're proactive, taking responsibility, what's next? Covey says you need to know where you're going. That brings us to habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. This habit pushes you to envision your desired future, your big goals, your core values, and then line up your actions today with that vision. He suggests creating a personal mission statement, almost like a compass. For someone who's never done this, how does Covey suggest we even start thinking about our end in mind?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this habit is basically about personal leadership. Before you can effectively lead anyone else, or even just manage your daily tasks well, you first have to define what matters most to you. Covey does this thing where he asks you to imagine your own funeral, or maybe, what you want on your tombstone. What kind of person do you want to have been? What impact do you want to have made?
a bit morbid, but I see the point.
It sounds morbid, yeah, but it's incredibly clarifying. It's like building a house. You wouldn't just start hammering nails without a blueprint, right? Beginning with the end in mind means setting a clear, principled direction for your life, making sure every step you take actually aligns with your deepest values and goals. It's about avoiding climbing that ladder of success only to realize, uh-oh, it was leaning against the wrong wall all along.
That's a really powerful visualization.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have that clear direction. Then habit 3 tells you to put first things first. This feels like where the rubber meets the road, execution. Covey introduces his famous time management matrix here. And it's not just about being efficient. It's about prioritizing based on importance, not just urgency. How does that work?
Indeed. The time management matrix is a super practical tool within this habit. And yeah, it can be transformative. It breaks your activities down into 4 quadrants. Quadrant 1, that's your urgent and important stuff. Crises, pressing problems, deadlines, we all have them. But living here is pure stress.
Yeah, burnout central.
Totally. Then quadrant 3, this is urgent but not important. Think interruptions, some meetings, maybe other people's priorities that aren't really critical to your goals. You feel busy, but you're not actually moving forward much.
Got it. Lots of running in place.
Right. Quadrant 4, this is not urgent and not important. Basically, time wasters. Busy work, mindless scrolling, gossip, you name it. But the key, the absolute secret sauce for effectiveness, lies in quadrant 2. Not urgent, but important. This is where things like planning, prevention, relationship building, learning, personal growth, finding new opportunities, all that good stuff lives. Covey stresses that truly effective people organize their lives around these quadrant 2 activities. It's the proactive work that stops crises from even starting.
That quadrant 2 focus, the not urgent but important, that really shifts how we think about productivity, doesn't it? For listeners maybe stuck chasing deadlines, what's the biggest mental block to actually doing
But
that?
it's a huge hurdle. Because it takes discipline and it takes foresight. Our brains are kind of wired to react to urgency.
Definitely. The squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Exactly. The phone rings, the email alert pops up, and we jump. Quadrant 2 stuff, by its nature, it doesn't scream for attention. It just waits patiently. So the biggest hurdle is resisting that pull of the urgent, even when it's unimportant, to consciously make time for the important things that really move the needle long term. It's about intentionally carving out time for what truly drives your mission, not just reacting to whatever's shouting the loudest. And this is captured perfectly by another one of his great quotes. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. It forces you to step back and ask, okay, what is my main thing?
I think we've all been guilty of losing sight of that. I remember once spending a whole week on this massive project. Burning the midnight oil felt incredibly productive.
Yeah.
But by Friday, I was just completely exhausted, making dumb mistakes. I was living entirely in quadrant I and definitely not sharpening my saw, as he'd say. That's when I realized, okay, there has to be a better approach. These first 3 habits really are about mastering yourself first. So we focus pretty intensely on this private victory, mastering ourselves. But I mean, a truly effective life isn't lived in a bubble, is it? How do these principles extend beyond just us, into our relationships, our teams, our collaborations? This is where it gets really interesting, as we move from mastering ourselves to mastering our interactions with others. These next 3 habits, 4 through 6, are all about achieving public victory, shifting from independence to that really powerful stage of interdependence. Okay? Habit 4 is think win-win. This is all about seeking mutual benefit in your interactions. Not compromise where everyone kind of loses a bit, but finding solutions where everyone genuinely gains. But honestly, in a world that often feels so competitive, is win-win actually realistic? Or is it more of an idealistic, nice-to-have goal?
Well, the power behind think win-win really comes from what Covey calls the abundance mentality. And this isn't just wishful thinking, it's a core belief. It's the conviction that there's enough success, enough resources, enough joy, enough everything for everyone. It's the opposite of a scarcity mindset, which assumes that if one person wins, another has to lose.
The fixed pie idea.
Exactly, the fixed pie idea. The abundance mentality frees you from that zero-sum game. It lets you get creative and find solutions where everyone walks away better off instead of just fighting for your slice. What's really insightful here is how deeply ingrained that scarcity mindset often is, We almost have to actively fight against it sometimes. Covey famously said, win-win is not a technique, it's a total philosophy of human interaction. It's a fundamental shift from competing to collaborating. And frankly, it requires a good deal of self-worth and security, which is exactly why those first 3 private victory habits have to come first. You need that inner foundation.
That completely changes the game. for negotiation, collaboration, everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. It demands a totally different mindset.
Yeah.
Okay, from there we move to habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. You hear this one quoted a lot. It's really the bedrock of effective communication, emphasizing empathetic listening first. It sounds simple enough, but why is this so incredibly hard for most of us to actually do in practice?
If you think about it, most people, when they're in a conversation, they listen with the intent to reply. They're already formulating their response, crafting their argument, thinking about their own story.
Waiting for their turn to talk.
Exactly. They're listening from their own autobiography, as Covey puts it. This habit pushes you to genuinely listen first, to really try to get inside the other person's head, see the world from their point of view, before you even think about explaining your own side. It's like a doctor diagnosing before prescribing. Once you've done that, once the other person feels truly heard and understood and respected, then they become far more open to hearing and understanding your perspective. It builds bridges where arguments usually just build walls, and the quote is right there in the habit itself. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. It's not just nice, it's strategic for building trust and actually solving problems.
What a powerful lens for literally any conversation. And okay, once you truly understood someone, what kind of amazing possibilities does that unlock? That seems to lead directly into habit 6, synergize. This sounds like where you actively value the differences between people and build on everyone's strengths through teamwork.
Precisely. Synergy, in Covey's framework, isn't just cooperation or compromise. It's about creating outcomes that are way greater than what any individual could achieve alone. It's that kind of magical 1 + 1 = 3 effect, or sometimes even more.
Right. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Exactly. But it requires real openness, a deep level of trust built through habits like win-win and understanding first, and a genuine respect for different perspectives. It's about leveraging those differences, seeing them as strengths, not trying to make everyone the same. When people truly come together like that, valuing each other's unique insights, skills, backgrounds, they can come up with solutions that nobody could have thought of on their own. It makes synergy incredibly powerful for any group effort, families, teams, organizations. It's really the peak of interdependence.
It's incredible. So, okay, we've built our private victory, we've mastered the public victory, but wow, the sheer effort of trying to live all these habits consistently could easily lead to burnout, couldn't it? What's Covey's answer for sustaining all this, for keeping that focus and continuous improvement going rather than just hitting a goal and stopping? That's where habit 7 must come in. The habit of continuous improvement, preventing burnout, sharpen the saw. Covey explains sharpen the saw as ongoing self-renewal, like investing in yourself across 4 key areas. It's a literal quote from the book, that vivid image, right? If you just keep sawing without sharpening the blade, you eventually just stop being effective. It's a great metaphor for self-care.
It is. And the critical question then becomes, how do we sustain the energy and clarity to consistently apply these other 6 habits? Habit 7 gives us the structure for that. It details renewal in 4 essential dimensions of our lives, making sure we don't just burn out, but actually increase our capacity over time. So those 4 areas are physical. This is the obvious one, maybe. Exercise, good nutrition, getting enough rest, just taking care of your body, your fundamental tools.
Basic maintenance, yeah.
Right. Then mental, this is about continuous learning. Reading, writing, exploring new ideas, engaging in things that stimulate your mind and foster intellectual growth, expanding your horizons. Social emotional. This focuses on building and nurturing meaningful relationships, contributing through service to others, developing empathy. It's about your connection to people and your emotional resilience. And finally, spiritual. This involves connecting with your core values, maybe through meditation or prayer or time in nature, clarifying your sense of purpose, reflecting on your contribution. It's about nourishing your spirit, your core. The idea is that constant balanced investment across all 4 of these areas gives you the energy, the clarity, the resilience to actually live the other habits effectively. It's really the habit that makes all the other habits possible in the long run. It prevents that burnout we were talking about.
What an incredibly comprehensive, holistic framework. Just amazing. As we kind of connect all the dots from this deep dive, what are the big overarching insights that make this book still so uniquely impactful, even decades later?
It is remarkable, isn't it, how Covey blends this sort of timeless wisdom with really practical tools like the time management matrix. When you look at the whole system, several core ideas really stand out. First, that enduring concept. Character is greater than personality. Real effectiveness comes from integrity, from principles, not just from charm or techniques.
Right, substance over style.
Exactly. Second, the inside-out approach is just profoundly powerful. Genuine, lasting change starts with you before you can really influence others or your situation effectively. Third, understanding that maturity continuum, that whole journey from dependence to interdependence, that's really the arc of personal growth the habits guide you through.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth, there's the critical balance of productivity and renewal. Sustained success isn't just about grinding harder. It requires constant investment in yourself, in sharpening that saw. And finally, I think it's the universal relevance. These habits aren't just for CEOs or something. They apply to leadership, sure, but also to relationships, personal productivity, family life, finding meaning. It's truly a holistic system for living effectively.
That really brings it all together beautifully. So, okay, for you, our listener, what does this all boil down to in practical terms? Let's make this your cheat sheet, your quick takeaways from our deep dive today. First, embrace proactivity. Take responsibility. Focus on your circle of influence. You're the driver, not the passenger. Then, define your vision. Create that personal mission statement. Know where you're going. Make sure your ladder's on the right wall. Next, prioritize what truly matters. Get into quadrant 2. Focus on the important, not just the urgent. Plan, prevent, prepare. When dealing with others, aim for win-win. Think abundance. Seek mutual benefit. Build bridges. Before you jump in with your point, listen first. Seek genuinely to understand with empathy. Diagnose before you prescribe. Then value synergy. Embrace differences. Collaborate. Aim for outcomes greater than the sum of the parts. And finally, always renew regularly. Sharpen that saw. Invest consistently in your body, your mind, your heart, and your spirit. These habits, they aren't just a checklist. They form this powerful, interconnected system, a real shortcut maybe to being well-informed and having those aha moments in your own growth and effectiveness. We've covered a lot today. Maybe take a moment now to just reflect. Which one of these 7 habits really resonated most with you right now, where you are in your life? Perhaps the one that feels, I don't know, most challenging or maybe most needed for your next step?
That's a great invitation. Yeah, building on that, considering your own current place on that maturity continuum we talked about, whether you feel more dependent right now or independent, or maybe you're actively working towards interdependence, which one of these 7 habits, if you truly focused on mastering it this week, do you think would have the most profound, positive ripple effect across your entire life?
A fantastic question to leave everyone mulling over. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the 7 habits. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and definitely keep sharp.